Hello everyone, this is going to be my commentary over my solo Ophilia speedrun. You can either watch this video with the commentary or you can watch the previous version I uploaded, which has no commentary or mic. The run starts as normal in chapter 1 compared to other Ophilia speedruns because she is solo in the beginning, of course. There are some solo speedruns where chapter 1 diverges a little bit, but this is not one of them. The guide at the very end, the Flory person, is even someone who is guided in some routes as well, if you want to do Cait or other such routes. So chapter 1 begins as normal with Ophilia guiding and doing her story actions, of course. And before we get into the actual dungeon and such, I will just mention some things about solo speedruns. This is one of the faster solo speedruns. This and solo prim are the current two fastest routes, and then afterwards it would be Therian. And then other ones are like in the 90 minutes to 1 hour and 45 minutes range. So that would be 1 hour 30 minutes to 1 hour 45 minutes range. So anyways, after you've done the story, you buy the quartz rod here to have more power for her first boss. And you also guide the tavern person who can do a 3-hit wind attack, which helps break the boss a lot quicker. When I enter this next map, I walk a little bit in the beginning, and when I walk, actually do a method where I jiggle the control stick a little bit. So when I'm holding right here, I'm like wiggling it up and down a little bit. Doid from the Octopath Discord did some tests, and it seems to decrease encounter rate just a tiny smidge. It's hard for me to discern for sure, but I think that it's correct from my own tests as well, and it's not very difficult, so I do it. It's also, by walking in the beginning, you do also guarantee only one encounter in this map, which does save a little bit of time. Even if you run for most of it, you can still get one encounter, which is really nice. So now you just enter here, and similarly I also walk a little bit in here too to guarantee one encounter. So Guardian, the first boss, is fairly simple. You summon, and one thing I wanted to note about this encounter is I got it a little early, so afterwards you're going to see me walk a little bit. But that's fine, it doesn't waste that much time. Anyways, back to Guardian. Guardian, the first boss that we will see very shortly. The basic idea is to summon the tavern patron behind me, and he will hopefully summon winds, which does 3 hits of wind break, which is really nice for speeding up breaking the boss. And the ideal fastest Guardian fight will have you defeat him before he even summons his little dark wisp, but that's a little difficult. It depends on the attacks and turn order and such. And I don't recall if I've ever gotten it, but it's possible to get. So here it's pretty standard. You break and do Holy Light X4, and then you break again and do Holy Light X4. And depending on the turn order and such, you might get away with just the X3, or even without a second break or without a second summon. It can vary a little bit. Here, all pretty standard such things. And he leaves, and you resummon right away. He'll start the trial. The wisp is a little annoying because the text is a little slow, but it's not really a big deal. As long as you defeat him before the wisp does its self-immolate attack, you're fine. Also, fun fact about the wisp, when it does its self-immolate attack, that attack is the same as the final boss's add. Name-wise it's the same, so it's kind of cool, I think, because that boss's add also blows itself up to do huge damage, and same thing with this one. So just now you saw that there was a Shadow Soulstone drop. That's a 30% drop from this boss. It isn't mandatory. It could help a little bit. If you are doing a Cait route for this solo, you don't need it, but if you are not doing the Cait route, then it can help with the JP grind for Scholar, which is what we're going to be aiming for next. So here I guide the Flurry guy. he has 3 types of attacks: a 2-hit flurry, a 3-hit flurry, and a normal bow attack. You want to see the 3-hit flurry as much as possible. Here we ignore Cait because this route has a lot of money in it, or it has enough money in it. You're over by about 5k in the final chapter, so it's fine. And you flee encounters. If you are doing a Cait route, you can. If you are doing a Cait route, you definitely don't need any encounters. If you are gonna do YOLOed, you can optionally take encounters. Up to you. You just need 130 JP for evasive maneuvers. All solos and all speedruns, really, except for, I suppose, Golden Axe, and I suppose RTA, of course, the fitness RTA. All of those get evasive maneuvers to reduce the encounter rate. And this is pretty typical in a lot of RPG speedruns, because you just want to get less random encounters. So here, because I got caught by surprise, I decided to defeat the ants for extra JP. And you need just boost X3. If you have Scholar, you can just do boost X2, and that's fine. I do not have Scholar yet. Here, I should have just broken him, but wasn't paying attention. And break, and also boost and defeat it. I didn't need to do X4 there, I could have done X3, but oh well. So if I did not level up here, I would have healed before entering the next map. Here, if you walk, there's about a 10% chance of dodging the encounter. I do the same thing I mentioned earlier where I jiggle the control stick a little bit, up and down. Right now, while I go rightward. I don't know if it actually makes that big of a difference, but I almost made it, I guess. Anyways, you summon right away, hope for flurries. And I get a normal bow attack, but that's okay. His next turn you can flurry, hopefully. I heal here so that I can tank another turn's worth. And he flurries, which is great. And he did the 2-hit flurry if you notice. So if he had not done bow previously on the right monster, that would not have broken him and I wouldn't be able to flee that. But that was fine, about average-ish. Because he has 3 attacks, usually he will do the 3-hit flurry 1 in 3-ish. But that's not a guarantee, of course. And then there's also the fact that this encounter can catch you by surprise and wipe you. Although there's a small chance you can also catch it by surprise. So it can vary a little bit. Overall, I'd say you'd get it 1 in 3 tries-ish. So here, after you get the Scholar Shrine, if you had gotten a Cait before this, you could just learn evasive maneuvers right away with Lightning Bolt and Analyze, or any 2 skills, doesn't matter. But if you don't, then you have to flurry again. Just a little slow, but it's fine. Here I got lucky with Fast Flurry, which is nice, and Flee. So next we tag Noble Court, then we exit to get the Light M, and we will use that to grind for JP. Also, tagging this map is useful because we have to teleport here later to go to her chapter 4 town. And it would be too difficult to get there right now. Alright, so we TP back to Flame's Grace. You can technically TP to Noble Court and flurry over to the Atlas Dam area, but this is much safer and more consistent, even if it's a little slower by 2-ish encounters. So if you recall, I had the Shadow S stone, so because of that I decided to take this encounter for the JP, because that will allow me to learn Lightning Bolt before I enter the Atlas Dam field, which is useful for defeating the ants. And I knew that because I was watching my JP count at the end of the boss and at the end of the previous encounter. I get an encounter here, which is unfortunate. I just flee it, of course, after you break. In this game, if you break an enemy, you have a free flee. If you put them to sleep, it's the same thing, also a free flee. And another way you can get free fleas is the 5th try flee is guaranteed. Although that one isn't technically free, I suppose, but it works. You can get caught there a little bit, a little annoying. It's not a big deal though. Ants are the best common encounter, aside from the rare Cait, which is not an uncommon encounter. Just a lightning bolt X2 defeats them. I didn't need to do X3, but it's fine. If you're grinding, I would recommend taking any ants that you see, just because it's fast, and if you're doing YOLOed anyway, you're not going to be going for an amazing time. So getting 2 ants is pretty nice, actually. It basically means that in YOLOed, I can be less choosy with my encounters. It's a little slow because I've taken 3 extra battles so far, but that's what you need to do in order to get the JP for evasive maneuvers. In here you can get this 1500, and I do in this run, but this is actually not necessary. The run has about 5k extra with it. Well, actually about 6k extra, but regardless, you can skip that and just come in here to grind. Although it's only like a second, so it's up to you. This is not a great encounter. Frogs are pretty bad. You want to see owls or frogs. If you get owls, you want a lightning blast or lightning bolt beforehand. If you get the other encounter, the bugs, then that should be enough JP. You may possibly need to grind 1 or 2 extra. Here I got my 3rd set of ants, which is unusual. Usually you'll see some frogs and meats and such, but I don't mind, I suppose. This is enough to get evasive maneuvers. Evasive maneuvers also, by the way, it doesn't matter what you learn as long as you get that skill. We will never be using Scholar to grind or anything, and you should just flee all encounters. So evasive maneuvers, as I was mentioning, decreases encounter rate by 2.5 approximately. So you go 2.5 the distance, and you can just flee all encounters. So after getting evasive, we want to tag Stonegard. That's a good central-ish location for other places we want to reach, and we do have to come there later for a quest. Most of these maps are big, so you may get an encounter right before leaving or so. It can vary though a little bit. This was a mistake I did in my run. I thought that just lightning blast would defeat it, and then it doesn't, of course. So I should really have just run in the beginning. And here I thought that it was close to being defeated, so I just attacked again, which is dumb, and I should have just run. And then you can see that I choose to run now, and I fail. So more time loss. Hey, looking back on this was pretty funny. Dumb, but a little funny. But anyways, if you get that, or get any encounter, just run. If you get a Cait though, you can summon the flurry guy and hope to defeat it, but it's fine. We have ways of getting experience in JP later that you'll see. Here I get this, but you don't need that either, just skip it. The route has excess money. Skipping that chest, skipping the YOLOed chest, skipping the Hunter Ophilia L are, you know, all reasonable and fine. At the very top of this map, there was a chest that had a Pom S. I would recommend getting that one as well. I forgot it in this one. So here I reload down to guarantee a safe passage to Stonegard. Otherwise, you have a very high chance of encounter, and if you get it, it's pretty annoying. But if you reset down, it's safe. After we tag it, we just leave right away. We want to go to Wellspring right away to get a Soulstone, because we don't have a Cait, so we want to grind the pirate encounter, or grind one of the random encounters we get. My mindset, by the way, right now is I lost a lot of time because of that seashell monster, so I'm gonna do some YOLO-y strats that are a little more risky than I would normally do, but that's just to try and compensate for a bit of time. This route is fine-tuned a little bit compared to my previous run on Nintendo Switch, but this run itself is not perfect and has room to improve. So here we run to tag Wellspring, which is a useful warp point for later. also has good positioning for stones and some encounters and such. So we enter here, and if you go down a map into Tharion's Chapter 3 pre-map area, there is a Fire L that we obtain. As far as I know, this is one of the faster L stones that you can get in a solo, that any character can get. And some of my other solos do get this as well. So after we get that, we just go to Stonegard, because we have the L stone we need, and we will be using this on the pirate encounter when we get it, or any encounter. You basically just want a little bit of JP so you can learn Hired Help. And Hired Help is necessary to reach Northreach, which is necessary for the Void and Gleaming Amulets, which are essential to the Chapter 3 and 4 strategies. So in this map, usually you would save and quit. If you got a Cait, I would recommend saving and quitting. But here I choose to just YOLOed the screen to the Merchant Shrine. And my thought process is, if I get the pirate encounter, I will toss the Fire L. But I do not get it. So I accept that and I just move on. There are places to grind encounters later, so it's not a big deal. I don't know the rate of skipping this, but my guess would be around 10%-ish. It's not normal to skip this encounter, and very few runners do, unless they're doing YOLO-y or risky strats. As an encounter itself, it's actually not that good either. It doesn't give that much JP, XP, but it's fine. L stones will defeat pretty much any encounter in a Chapter 2 area, and this is approximately a Chapter 2 area, but you ideally would like something a little better in my opinion. Here we get this Pom S. All these Pom S's, Pom M's that we get along the way, they just help a little bit here and there against Mattias. Not super mandatory, but they're nice, and it's a little bit faster than not getting it. And just doing a normal reflect or whatever strat. I'll explain more when we come to the fight. So here there's a minor chance of getting an encounter going to the Grandport screen, but it's pretty unusual. However, I do get it. And because I managed to save a stone earlier, I just pause it here. If you don't get this encounter, it's fine. You could just force one later too. And now I definitely have enough JP for Hired Help, which is what I want. So here we get the Wind L, and we exit and re-enter, because it's a pretty fast L stone to get. This Wind L is useful for grinding one encounter later on, or if you want to just save it for her Chapter 2, that's fine too. It's up to you. The old route used to, I believe, get that Thunder M in that map there, but I routed out a lot of small items and money and stones that aren't really necessary. A lot of these stones technically aren't necessary either, but having extra experience and levels helps a lot. So we do a save and quit here to reload the encounter rate. Pretty standard stuff for an Octopath speedrun. And next we will be getting a Thunder L, tagging Grandport, and then looting Lock. I guess want to mention that about stones and experience and levels and money. In Octopath Traveler, you get more stats the closer you are to a number ending in 0. So for example, leveling up from level 12 to 13, let's say you get 15 stats as an example. I don't know the exact number. If you leveled up from level 19 to 20 or level 9 to 10, you might get like 20 stats or something like that. It's just that as you approach a number ending in 0, you get more stats. So because of that, the value of your level ups increases as you approach level 20. So in this map, if you have a Cait, you can just get this Pom L and then go straight to the 30k chest and then TP back to Grandport. If you do not have a Cait, which I do not have, you can get this Pom L, exit, re-enter, and get the Wind L and the 30k. There's a minor chance of an encounter when you approach the 30k chest, but it's very, very, very minor. I tested it with Unrandomizer, which is a cheat engine that allows you to fix your results, and I got the encounter just before the chest or so. So after you get those, you enter Grand Port and you loot the back area. There are 3 chests that are free, and it is a silver-filled pouch, a dazzling artwork, and a chest of money. You get all 3 because the money is useful for the veterans we want to buy. I did consider and look into testing other dungeons and areas and such, but I believe that the maps I've chosen and dungeons I've chosen, I think, are the fastest with the strats I have. If anyone else has other ideas and such, go for it, I suppose. Would love to see other people's approaches and strategies to these solos. But anyways, after we've done the Grand Port and lock areas, we come here, and our next goal is to obtain equipment for Ophilia, which is in Marslum. So we go down, and over here, if you just go straight down from that signpost, there's a loading zone, so you don't have to go all the way over, by the way. This Thunder L is very, very risky. When you get this Thunder L, there's a high chance of an encounter. Your Wind L might be able to defeat it, which is useful for the experience and such. But if you don't get an encounter, that's fine. You can just run straight down. Or alternatively, if you have a Cait, you can skip that. You could also, if you want to be extra safe, get that, TP back to Wellspring, and then run back down again. Up to you. But it's extremely dangerous, and I just got super lucky there. So there we get another Thunder L outside the catacombs here, and in this catacombs, we want the Rev Gem. We want at least 1 Rev Gem for Chapter 3, and none of the other bosses need one, although if we dupe it or get more, could somehow get more, it would be nice. I don't think that there's a way to get more other than the 1% drop that Cait's give or whatever. And over here we buffer glitch into here. So you can only do this on PC and Nintendo Switch, you can't do this on Xbox. That Massive Spear is only used for money, it's about 16k, and that is enough to cover the range of vets that we need for the entire route. And after we've looted all those, we leave. It's completely safe when you leave the Massive Spear area and exit here, because we exit through the boss glitch, the boss zone, and that resets your encounter rate. Over here, similar to Lock, there is a very tiny chance you get an encounter right at the edge when I tested this with Unrandomizer, but it's also very rare, so hopefully you just don't get it or you flee it. Now we enter Marslum Palace, and we get the 3 chests in the back. I believe that all of the solo routes get these 3 chests because it's very good for equipment, and buying equipment yourself is expensive. Some of the routes have like other equipment and such. Here I optimize here because, and I thought I had endless items, which I don't, but I learned hired help and I leave. Optimizing there is just useful because if you get caught by surprise, or when you enter the Victor's Hollow area, there's a small chance that the enemies can do decent damage to you, and this helps in case that happens. Regarding what I was saying about those 3 palace chests, they're equipment, and there aren't that many free chests with equipment in them, so it's kind of nice. There are some characters that have access to more equipment, like Therian in his solo can get the adamantine hat or other hats by stealing, but for the most part, it's a good way to get equipment. And they're pretty decent, honestly. Here you just flee anything. You can also hired help bandits, but it's a little slow compared to just getting first turn flee. So anyways, our next goal currently is to go to Hunter Shrine, Victor's Hollow, Northreach, and we want to defeat some encounters along the way for experience, but we also want to get the Hunter job, we want to tag Victor's Hollow for a guide later, and also loot Northreach. So this next map is a little bit dangerous. Going to Hunter Shrine is not so dangerous. Leaving Hunter Shrine into Victor's Hall is a smidge dangerous because you can get the encounter. If I had not gotten any encounter which I used the Fire L on, I would have grinded an encounter in the map outside. Small note, that Olive of Life L is not necessary. You can just skip it, as I mentioned earlier. We get Hunter here because we want Arrow Storm. Technically, we could just guide Flurry, but it's very inconsistent. And you don't want to be inconsistent against the Drakes outside Whisper Mill. They're very strong. So here if you go straight left and then you curve downward a little bit. You see up there's a chest, by the way. That's a 5k chest. I tried to see if I could route that into my solos, but it's too far to reach. But would have been nice to get that 5k. Anyways, I will reset encounters here. If you have the spare Fire L and you need the JP, then don't reset and just go straight into the Western Still Snow map. If you do get the encounter still somehow, you can either flee it or toss a stone and get a backup stone later. There are some backups I will mention a little bit. Here in this map, if you get an encounter, I recommend throwing the Thunder L. Thunder L will defeat any encounter. There is one specific enemy that only falls to Thunder L. All other enemies can be defeated with normal Ls. I believe it is the bottom one. Yes, I'm pretty sure it's that bottom one right there. He has a little over like 3k or something. But anyways, I have enough for hired help and also for sidestep, which is nice. And with that we get endless items, which we want procs for a lot of. In this next map, if I needed to grind an extra Reptalios, which I do, I would recommend taking invasive maneuvers off when running over, but I forget. So here I get the 30k chest. And I suppose as a note, if you do take evasive maneuvers off to grind an extra Reptalios, make sure to put it back on, of course. Okay, so Reptalios. These lizards are weak to Axe, and with hired help bandits X2 we can defeat them pretty readily, and they have a little over 5,000 HP, so a broken L stone defeats them very consistently. If you get a chubby Cait, which I have gotten in some runs before, you can try to defeat it with hired help veterans X1. Do not boost that, unless you can somehow get boost to X3 or something. But I got caught by surprise, wiped, which is unfortunate, a little unlucky, but that's RPG speedrunning for you. It's not a big deal. Just run back out and redo it if you're doing this yourself. The top right chest over here is a Pom M. If we could somehow get that, that'd be nice, but then there's a very high chance of 2 encounters in the screen. The top left chest over here is a Shadow M. That could help, but we have enough stones, honestly, so that's not necessary for the risk it gives you. So here's kind of nice. I surprised it, although it's not technically needed, but whatever. Honestly, that text box actually slows you down a little bit. So there, I'm trying to preserve a Thunder L. We want a Thunder L for Chapter 2, and we want a Light L for Chapter 3. And if possible, 2 Light Ls for Chapter 3 is even nicer. There I was checking my level, because I know I have to grind one more encounter. Here I learn Arrow Storm, and I also learn one more skill for the heightened senses. Now I want to take off evasive maneuvers and put on heightened senses. And I am forgetting for a second what I have to do, so I mess up there. But I want to take off evasive maneuvers and come back out to grind one more. Here I was running toward the Shadow M because I was thinking I might as well grab it. I get caught by surprise and I wipe again. If this happens to you, don't worry, just come back out, redo it. It's not a big deal. Here I just forego the Shadow M and just run around. This is my third wipe. Usually they like to do lower critical, but they're gonna hit you sooner or later if you're not gonna take your turn, so it's unfortunate, but it's just unlucky. Just go back out and redo it. If you, by the way, just a note, if you do have a Cait, you can ignore all this because you'll be level 14, and then at level 14, the one Reptalios you defeat on the way to North Reach is enough for level 15, and level 15 is all we need. So here I almost accidentally do trade wins because it's positionally the parallel to the bandits in the menu, but whatever. So I do want to preserve a Wind L because I also want to defeat a Wellspring encounter. So, and re-enter Northreach. And it's time to loot Lorn. Just a note, you can exit the menu with the same button you used to enter menu. So if you hit X to open menu and you're within a sub menu, just hit X and you close it. But there, I think I was checking my HP or something, I forget. That Plum M is not necessary, but it's useful if you can get it. And you buffer glitch into here, of course. Get the Ice M here, because it's useful for Chapter 2 encounters, and it's one of the closest M's you can get. This map is a little dangerous, so we want to run through and get the Pom L on the next screen. After we get the Pom L, we come back and we loot the Gleaming Amulet at the bottom of the previous screen. You can technically do all that on the way in, but it's a very high chance of encounter. I've found that this is more consistent and safer. This is Gleaming Amulet. This does 99% light damage reduction, and it is crucial to the Chapter 3 strategy for the bosses. For the boss, but it's a pair of bosses. Next we come through and we loot the Refreshing Gem, which can help a little bit against the Chapter 4 boss. And then the final thing we get is a Void Amulet. There's a minor chance of encounter. If it's the Brigands, which are these, you can break it with Hired Help Bandits X2. But I get caught by surprise. And wipe. But that's fine if this happens, don't worry, just re-enter, redo it. Not a big deal. Well, it matters time-wise, but I mean, it's fine. I would estimate probably I get this 60 to 70% of my run-throughs without an encounter, and the other 30 to 40% I get the encounter. And afterwards go to Stonegard, because we want to do the quest here. And just a note, after this section you should go to Noble Court and do the Noble Court section to Whisper Mill so you can buy the shield and also get the Thunder M in Whisper Mill. I forget this and I delay this until after Chapter 2, which is a little unfortunate for the Chapter 2 encounters, possibly, but I'm not punished for my mistake, so it's not a big deal. Just get lucky. Anyways, we guide that guy and we talk to this guy, and with that we complete this quest for the Royal Quest, which is an accessory that gives you 600 HP. Now we're gonna go start chapter 2. But right before that, we want to grind just a little bit more because of what I mentioned earlier about stats. The closer we are to level 20, the more our stats will raise. So in this map, we want to force an encounter, which we will get around here. We'll get this. This one falls to only a wind L, and you can get this pretty easily because there's a couple wind Ls in the route. Getting that dupe is also very nice for me. If I hadn't gotten that dupe, it might be a little bit annoying to defeat the chapter 2 encounters, or I'd have to flee 1 or 2. Anyways, right before leaving, I would recommend picking up this Pom M. It just helps against Mattias a little bit. And also helps against Hrodvitner, I think. Yes. Because I do not have the Pom M that I would have gotten on the way to Whisper Mill. So here, just run straight to Saint's Bridge. You can ignore everything else along the way. Don't need to get any chests, don't need to loot any, don't need to tag any towns. Don't need to get any jobs or anything like that. In terms of jobs, this route is fairly minimal. You just need merchant and scholar for hired help, and that's really it. So here I put Royal Crest and Gleaming on because that is enough for chapters 2 and 3 in succession, so I don't have to menu again later, and I do it now so I don't forget. If you get an encounter in this map right here, this level 20 map, you can either toss an M stone and use hired help bandits, toss 2 M stones, toss an L stone if you have a spare somehow, but keep in mind we want a Thunder L and a Light L for chapters 2 and 3, or you can just flee it. With your current gear, you can tank it and just flee for a long while and be fine, probably. And then depending on the encounter, some might take a little bit extra bandits or something. But you have enough for about like 4 or 5 bandits, so, or 6 bandits or something. You're fine. Here I learned Reflective L. It's not necessary to do it here, but I just randomly remembered. I didn't want to forget for Mattias because I've gone into him without learning it before. It's very slow. And just continue chapter 2. We do not have a guide for this first boss, by the way, but you don't need one. We're just gonna chuck a lot of veterans at him, and stones, and 1 stone. But yeah, that pouch is actually necessary. Do loot that one. I suppose it's not technically absolutely necessary, but it's right there. It's very close, and it's good. So. Skip the cutscenes, of course. And we're going to be entering the chapter 2 Mirkwood areas. So, depending on your stone count, depending on your levels, you may or may not want to take these encounters. Technically, we have enough levels and experience and all that for all the bosses and jobs, and we don't need any more. But if you do have more, it can be nice to help against Mattias's pre-battle ads, and also against the chapter 3 boss pair. But if you don't need the encounter, just skip it by reloading. If you do need an encounter, chuck 2 M's, chuck 1 M and use bandits, or use an L stone, or just flee it. And get this chest right before leaving. If you try to do the screen without save and quitting though, you're pretty much guaranteed an encounter, so you're gonna get one. Here, most maps you can follow the torch, but in this map, do not follow the torch. Go rightward here, where the path I just went. And that's just a little bit faster, map-wise. This map and Hanet's chapter 2 map, I believe, are the main ones I can think of that do that. And in this map over here, you do want to chuck one of your L stones. So here I'm just checking my L stone count, and that is enough. You can also bandits or something. I thought I would level up here, and I didn't, so I have to heal now for the boss. So compared to my previous solo route, on Nintendo Switch, this boss changed just a tiny bit. In the past, we used the Pom L to do a 4-turn KO on him. Now we do a 5-turn KO, but we use a Pom M to save a Pom L from Mattias later. It's just a little more efficient for BP management. Because you gain 1 BP naturally anyway. So that Pom L is only giving you 3. And this one already almost gives you that much, so it's fine. So 4 veterans will bring him to 1 shield. Now we defend. A Thunder L will break, and then a veteran's X4 will defeat him. If you do not have a Thunder L, you can toss a Light L, and that would also defeat him. If you don't have either, then you can just attack him normally, break him, and then toss extra M's or L's or something. But you should have... This is the whole reason why we want to conserve the Thunder L or the Light L for this battle. We do need a Light L for Chapter 3 as well though, so that's why we use Thunder L here. And just for a reminder, I should have done the Whisper Mill section first and gotten the Thunder M, but I didn't pay attention. But it's fine. Finish Chapter 2. And now you're free to go start Chapter 3. In my case, because I neglected to do this section earlier, I have to do it now. Because you definitely want the Atom Shield before Chapter 3. You may optionally get this Grape M chest right there. I choose to ignore it. And then you also want to go to Hunter because you're going to have to break the encounter coming up. Right before going rightward to Whisper Mill, you want to go leftward to Force of Purgation for the Tempest Amulet and the Light L. The Tempest Amulet is also core to the strategy in Chapter 4. This one gives 99% wind reduction. Which, by the way, fun fact, there's quite a few elemental reduction equipment that we use in this route. We use Tempest for 99% wind reduction, Void for 99% dark reduction, Gleaming for 99% light reduction. The High House armor we have equipped is 25% fire reduction. And actually in Chapter 3 there is a Ice Amulet, which is 50% reduction, which can actually help against the Chapter 3 boss, but we don't have enough slots for it. So up there we got the Pom M, and over here we got the Cat's Eye, and now we get this encounter, break it with Aerostorm, flee, tagged Whisper Mill. Aerostorm and similar attacks are guaranteed at least 3 hits, and can hit up to 7 hits, and then like after they've broken can keep hitting them for up to 10 hits or so. I believe that is correct. You can check some data sheets and such. I would recommend Tables on the Octopath Discord. He makes good data sheets on the skills. Here we buy this. This is technically optional, but it makes it more consistent to fight against Chapter 3, and I'll show you in the battle coming up. Here I go to Starseer to get an extra Light L in case my inhibitor does not do enough inhibits on the Chapter 3 boss, but this is technically skippable and you could just hope for good inhibits, which I should have just done if I want to go fast. It loses about 33 seconds or something to get that, so if you want to go faster I would recommend just skipping that. And you can, and also when you teleport here you start the chapter obviously, but you can just hope for your Light L to proc with EI, or you can just hope for enough inhibit turns and that your inhibitor actually does his ability. So here get the 4500 and also get the Pom M because those are helpful of course, and then do Chapter 3. And then when the little boy leaves, follow, guide him back, do the cutscenes. So you can see there I messed up a little bit, but not a big deal. Skip cutscenes, guide him, finish chapter, it will continue chapter that is. After these cutscenes, we will be deep inside of the church, and we don't want to run out, so we want to teleport out. And this is actually convenient because now we don't have to guide any more people for the rest of our stories, except for after the credits, which doesn't matter. But Ophilia is now free to guide anyone, so we want to grab that Victor's Hollow person that we tagged Victor's Hollow for. This person has Inhibit defense, which does magic defense and physical defense down, which is useful for doing more damage. There are other inhibitors, and some of which are actually closer and more convenient than tagging Victor's Hollow. But a small note, that's Mattias up there, and you don't have to talk to him. And also above him is a Thunder M, which you may get to toss on him later in battle, but also not needed. But anyways, there are other inhibitors, but this is one that does not hit Mattias' shields, which I couldn't find another one of that was convenient and close. So this is why he is used, because we don't want to break Mattias too quickly. Here, just mash on those text boxes, because that's faster. This previous screen that I just exited, you can get an encounter there, and if you do, you want to flee it or run from it, or just hopefully not get it. And in this map, it's such a big map that you have to save and quit in order to get safely to the end without encounter. And this save and quit is not even safe. You can still get an encounter. But the chance of encounter is not super high, so you should be fine-ish. Also, if you checked when I saved, I was a hunter. This is a mistake, and when I'm saving right before this next boss, I realize I have to switch back. And this boss usually takes a few tries. Make sure you're at full health, by the way, but this boss takes a few tries, so I save again. I don't have to keep redoing it. Strat for this is to set up sidesteps 2 at once to block the arcane blade attacks, which do a lot of damage. I believe they one-shot you, but I cannot actually remember the damage at the moment. But 2 sidesteps, then summon, then Rev Jam or Pom L to max BP, and just as many vets as possible. 4 vets, and then X3 vets, and then a light L. And hopefully that will defeat. I get lucky with inhibits early on, so that's good. And this attack does a lot of damage. I believe it just KOs you straight out. And this is why we want to burst them, because if the battle goes on too long. Also here, I usually Rev Jam, but I haven't taken any damage, so I just Pom L. But if you've taken any damage at all, Rev Jam, which is the whole reason why we get Rev Jam. That's the light amulet reducing the 99% damage. I would have taken like 500 there. Ice does about 800, fire because of our fire reduction does about 600. So here we live with 100-ish. If we did not have the Atom Shield, we would not have survived. This will break the left guy, which is actually ideal. If you look at the turn order just now, I broke every action between my 2 actions, which is very nice. And then another Vets X3 will defeat the left guy, because he's broken and has defense down. And here the right guy feels sorrow and powers up. He seethes with rage. And now he powers up his attacks, which do a lot of damage, but doesn't matter, a light L will defeat him. Now, of note, if I only had 1 inhibit turn, or if some heals had somehow gotten off, it's possible that that light L would not defeat, and you need a follow-up light L. And that follow-up light L could even be at range depending on hits and damage. So, and also turn order and such. So that's why it might be dangerous you might have to tank an extra turn. And having that extra sidestep does help. Alternatively, your guide can actually tank an attack for you as well. If you check my Nintendo Switch run, my guide actually tanked an attack for me, which was nice. But hopefully it's consistent enough that you don't need to do it. I would say I win that battle maybe 35%, 45% of the time. It's kind of hard to tell, or like it's kind of rangy. And here you switch to Void and Tempest, and I do it now because I'm going to sell every single thing I have, or almost everything. We want 90k going into the final dungeon. You don't need more for anything. You just need 3 sets of vets. You don't even need any mercenaries or anything. So normally that chest would be open and empty, by the way. But anyways, here you can see me start to sell, and I actually missed this black staff that I should have sold. Would have been a little bit faster, but whatever. Here I see I have 90k and I stop. 90.9k. But that black staff is 6k, so that's why you know. And also I didn't sell the Olive of Life L that I have as well, I believe. So this route has excess money. That's why you can skip some of those items from earlier. Skip the cutscenes and go through the town and such. And enter the final dungeon for the final boss. So the previous route compared to this one, this run and this route just fine-tunes a lot of things for my Nintendo Switch route in terms of money and stones and what's needed and what's not, and I tried to just be fairly minimal in my run and such. Not everything is optimal still. There's probably ways to still optimize here and there a little bit, and this Mattias fight is still also a little bit has room for improvement, I guess you could say. I don't play it completely perfectly, but it's a very safe fight. It's just, it's hard to know the best approach because it can depend on what attacks he uses and such, and turn order and such, and whether your inhibitor does inhibit attacks and such as well. But you have, with our setup in terms of equipment and amulets, his magic attacks will do basically nothing to us, so it's very safe. Here we save and quit to grab the 30k chest at the bottom, which we will use for the pre-battle, pre-Mattias 3-ad battle, which is actually, in my opinion, more dangerous than the Mattias battle. So pretty simple, we defend and we do Vetlex 3. I considered in the past not using vets on this, but it's just faster, more consistent, and these guys hit really hard. You can see I almost wipe here. If I didn't have my shield, or if they had done more fire attacks, I would have wiped. This is also why saving is important. Also of note is, if you are below level 20, you're guaranteed to level up. If you're level 20 and up, you may level up depending on how close you are. You get about 530 experience or so. So you can use that to gauge whether or not you can level up. But ideally you don't take too many encounters so you can level up. Also, I wish that I could have just let this play in the speedrun, but I wanted to get some decent semblance of how fast this would go or whatever. So basic idea is to use side steps, get up a lot of side steps, then summon and keep using Reflective L. So you can see that his darkness and his wind attack Gale here, they both do almost nothing, but that's because we have those amulets that I mentioned earlier, which have really nice reduction qualities. I also do want to note that Mattias did not crit me. If he crit me, I would be a lot lower on HP. But it doesn't matter, even if I was low, you could just grape M or heal or something, it doesn't matter. Even just grape, normal grape is fine. If you somehow get close, which should not happen. So here I want to sidestep X4, set up a lot of sidesteps, and then I don't have to worry as much. Next I will summon. And this battle's pretty free, you just keep reflecting to do a lot of damage, especially if he has Inhibit on him to lower his defense, because then he takes more damage from the reflex. Here I want to get lots of BP for his Inhibit defense, which has activated now, so I can do it. This is also why we want lots of Poms, because I want to save my BP to max boost Reflective Veil as much as possible. This is kind of nice getting some extra Inhibit on now. And now Reflex start doing damage. I think that this battle could probably be optimized to reflect more sooner, but it's not too big a deal. Here I keep getting more reflex and such, more BP for reflex. Excuse me. And you also want to note that his Gale Reflex and his Darkness Reflex do different damage, as you can see. But they're both around 2k, which is fine. And this 2k is worth more than an M stone, although it's also a little slower animation wise. So this is one reason why I'm not sure what's like optimal in terms of the approach to this. I resummon to get extra defense stacks on him. At any point you can do Vetsex 3 by the way to get him to 1 shield, and I would recommend doing it at some point. But for now I'm just getting lots of reflex up. Here you never want to see him tank an attack for you. I mean, I suppose at certain points it might be better, but you ideally want him to stick around so you don't have to waste the turn resummoning him, and also so that he will cast more defense down stacks on Mattias. But it's a little unlucky, but whatever, it's not too big a deal. Here I do veterans to bring him to 1 shield. And he does his talk or whatever. You can do that veterans at any time by the way. And that talk just now means that he's at 30% or below. So here, if I had the Pom S, it would have been nice to Pom S myself, but whatever. Here you get more Reflective Veil stacks. If you have spare stones, by the way, that are not ice or light, you can use that, by the way, as well. But I don't have that, so whatever. I just keep reflecting. So I'm playing this pretty poorly overall. I should have timed my steps and such a little better. But this is a source of my time loss a little bit, but whatever. Can't be helped. And here I believe I checked his damage. Oh, you can hover at any point to see if his name is turning red soon. But basically when he turns red he will do Infernal Prayer. And after that you want to do defense reduction and count 8k worth of damage and then burst him with vets. So I'm pretty dissatisfied with how this fight went because I did so poorly. So yeah, you can see me fumbling around because I'm not sure what to do. So one unfortunate thing about Infernal Prayer phase is that he cancels your defense reduction, which is unfortunate. And he hit this guy. That's also unfortunate because I have to resummon him to try to get defense down. But yeah, I'm pretty dissatisfied with how I did this fight. I do sidesteps here because I can see my stacks running low and I'm worried about damage. And it's kind of nice I finally get defense down, but I know that he's going to do Infernal Prayer again soon, so it's a little unfortunate. You also see that the reflex are doing a lot more damage now, but doesn't matter. I think, yeah, so here I resummon because I see 2 turns of defense down. I want 3 turns at least, because you rev gem once, and then you want to do Vets X4, and then Vets X3. So I might have been able to get away with it, but I don't know now. It's just unfortunate. But yeah, it's just overall fought not very well. So this cost me a lot of time because now I have to wait for Inhibit to hit again. And what I was thinking here was, if I reflect enough, I can just burst him sooner and maybe skip defense down or something. And I just really want the guy to inhibit right now. But I have defense down now, so it's enough to burst him and defeat him. And I overdo it a little bit because I did extra reflects on him. If you count your damage better and fight better, you can do this a little sooner and have an easier fight. But this will finish him for sure. Anyways, Mattias does dialogue 1 at 30% and then dialogue 2 at 70%. But at 50% he does Infernal Prayer. And at that point you count 8k, get defense down, and you burst him with Vets x4, x3. And that is the whole run. So I hope that that commentary was somewhat enjoyable. I suppose I'll just give some thoughts over the run and other things. First off, this was the first solo speedrun that I routed, and I did it kind of on a whim. Some people in the casual Discord were talking about the Octopath speedruns, and I recall seeing discussion in the speedrun Discord on solos and such as well. And I had always enjoyed solos, so I decided to just do solo Ophi, and I did it in about a day, and I thought that it was relatively quick, and I was curious how quickly I could do it. So then I discussed this on the Discord a little bit for the speedrunning Discord, and one of the other users, Jack Ramthal or so, mentioned that he had done a Ophilia solo before, which I thought was cool, and I watched it. And then I also did my own route and such, and just fine-tuned it a little bit here and there. And the earlier routes used Apothecary for Hale and Hardy, I think, and some other things, but I just kind of cut stuff here and there as needed, and it has come to the point where it's reached this, where I managed to fine-tune it from my previous Nintendo Switch route. My Nintendo Switch run is about 1 hour and 5 minutes. This one is 1 hour 1 minute. Both are relatively comparable, and obviously there's more room for improvement. In this run, you could probably save a couple minutes, maybe. If you get a Cait for sure, you'd save a couple minutes, but even just Mattias and not wiping to Lorn and in the Lorn Cathedral and at Northreach a couple times, that would save a decent chunk of time. Otherwise, that's it as far as optimizations and fine-tuning and such. It can probably be improved a little bit here and there, but I don't think that you'll save, like, you know, 8 minutes or something. That's a little unreasonable. But sub-hour is definitely possible if anyone wants to try it. I might try it myself one day. I'm not 100% certain. I do also want to touch up some of the other solo routes, and I have touched up some of the other ones a little bit. But overall, I like this route a good deal. I think it's pretty enjoyable and pretty cool that it's semi-fast. I hope that you enjoyed watching this as well. As a side tangent, I suppose, one thing I was considering trying was Twitch for a little bit. So if anyone is interested in watching Octopath speedruns and challenges and such, you can check that out. I will link my Twitch below, and I plan to try to run a little bit here and there. My username on Twitch is the same as this YouTube. It's AnimeFanX11. Just check the link. But anyways, I think that is about it. I'll wait for these credits to run out, but I suppose I can just mention some other random things. I hope, for one thing, E3 is coming up, so I really hope that Octopath has some news. A sequel would be cool, or the mobile game coming to the West would also be super cool. I would love to get information on those. I don't know if it's very likely. There was a Dragon Quest III remake that was announced in the same art style as Octopath. I'm very excited for that too. I would recommend people look into that. When I played Dragon Quest III in the past, it was pretty neat because there's jobs and classes kind of like Octopath, and it's fairly open world, so that's neat. Otherwise, as for other runs and challenges and such on this channel and other things I want to try and do, I'm a little busy with life at the moment, but here and there I do want to try to learn a little bit more in terms of other actual routes and such, and runs. And I also want to do some more fine-tuning on my solo routes, and also do some other challenges and such as well for myself. I have a document of ideas and such. One thing I was thinking was that I could also go back and rerun some of the solos that were not as optimal. For example, solo Cyrus, I think I could probably save like 5 to 10 minutes or so. Ulbrich, I believe I could probably save close to 5-ish minutes maybe. And some of the other ones could just be improved. I know Therian could get sub 1 hour 10 minutes. Right now that route is at 1 hour 14 minutes. So I don't know if I want to do that one though, because 3% aren't very fun. And I would like to do a run for solo Hana as well if Doid or no one else does one, just because I don't think that there's any full videos out there on that. Otherwise, what else is there? I think that there are some cool randomizers and mods and such in progress. I know that the modding Discord was discussing different ideas, even some like collaborative ones and such. And I also haven't tried out some things like the beast lore integrated into the randomizer, which I thought was cool. All very interesting ideas and such. And I also, in terms of like normal runs and such, I've learned parts of other normal routes and such, and I want to eventually try some of those as well. And what else is there? I might also go back and redo some of my older videos. For example, I did level 1 boss battles against the 4 advanced job bosses and Devourer and Direwolf, but they were all on Nintendo Switch, so that was with a $60 phone, which had very bad quality. So I might go back to redo that in terms of just having a better video to put out and show people. And then there are also some pretty cool glitches and such. I would recommend people check out Doid's glitch videos. His glitch video is very cool and shows ways to abuse Octopath's system in order to do things like get multiple of the same character or multiples of an item and such. I think that that's very cool. And I suppose I will just mention some challenge runs and such ideas I have. I think it would be cool to do some low-level solos possibly, and then I think that I don't know if it's possible, but blindfolded Octopath speedrun I think would be kind of cool, and then a Dreadwolf capture percent speedrun, I was thinking about that too, and then a no subjobs Caldera run, I was thinking that as well, and then I was also thinking just some playthrough ideas of my own, like for example a solo Ulbrich where I don't recruit others, or I do recruit others but I defeat everything on with him, including all the bosses and such, and other randomizers like full randomizer to Caldera and such as well. But anyways, those are just some random ideas and such. So, we've reached the end of the credits, and one thing that's interesting about Ophilia is she actually has a post-credits scene where she has to guide someone, which none of the other characters do. I believe all the other ones just immediately go to the end title card, but you can see me just finish this. This is not necessary, by the way. Time would have happened earlier when the credits just started. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this run. If you're interested in seeing more, you can check me out on Twitch, which I will hopefully start streaming soon, and I will link that below again. And otherwise, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, thanks, take care, and have a nice day.